March Comes In Like a Lion is such a fun watch. I have so much fun watching this every Saturday. Even when it comes to the depressing side of the episodes, to even the happy side, I really enjoy this series. And it's episodes like this that just really make me enjoy anime. Just smile and have a good time. Now, there was some dark moments in this episode, or one dark moment. I mean, there's two, but the big dark moment I will talk about in a minute. But there was one big dark moment, and the rest of the episode was happiness. For instance, everything was happy, everything was fluffy, no pun intended. It was just a very cutesy episode, and I welcome that. I really welcome that, because there's probably going to be a very dark episode very soon, especially for that brief little glimpse we got in this episode. But like I said, I'll get into that in a moment. So, the fluffy nature of this episode was very heartwarming. I mean, the episode starts off with Hina trying to make a lunch, and it's something you see a lot in slice-of-life romance anime. I see it a lot. You see it to where a girl tries to make a lunch for a boy that she really likes, and she has to process what she wants to make, and I mean, she's, scared of messing it up and not being able to give, the box lunch to the person she cares about. And as always, I've seen a lot of these type of shows, for instance, that have it to where girls trying to give someone a bento box. Well, I expected her to be able to eventually hand it to him, but what surprised me was that she did not manage to give it to the boy she cared about. And that, I enjoyed that scene. Not because I just love seeing a girl depressed, but I like the difference. My expectations were completely blown away. I expected, Hina to be able to give the box to the boy. But to think that she wasn't able to give it to him at all, and it was pretty much the end of her first love or her first crush, but also the way she had to take it home and then she ate it with her family and friend, that really showed how different this series is compared to what we would normally see. And you can see this is definitely for a mature audience, especially with the way that scene was done. It's not the normal, romance slice of life we would normally see, to where a girl can actually eventually give it, regardless of all the issues she has with giving it to him. It'll eventually make its way to him. Seeing how she couldn't give it to him and she had to bring it home, it emphasizes how mature this show can get. Now, regardless of that, though, that was a sad scene when she couldn't give it to him. I mean, when she couldn't give the boy she cared about the bento box, it was sad. I mean, that has to really hit your heart. I mean, when you're staying up all night, you're stressing out over making something right or doing something right, you get up very early to do something right, but then it all fails and fucks up at the end, of course you're going to feel sad and very depressed. It's something that I think all human beings experience one time in their life, probably multiple times. I mean, it has to happen. The experience of failure, or the experience of not being able to, accomplish what you set out to do. And that's what Hina had to deal with. I mean, she set out to try to give this boy this lunch, but she couldn't do it. And I like the way the older sister, Akari, the way she tried to comfort her younger sister, Hina, and tried to make her feel better. She was saying, you should make this food, make it, pretty delicious looking, instead of making it all fancy and cute. And I love the advice, the way that was done, how she was trying to help her little sister out, and how the little sister kind of turned her down, didn't want to do it, but then once all this was said and done, they go back to the conversation, and she's like, what's funny? When I was younger, I did the exact same thing as you. And that made me smile, because I don't know if you all have experienced this or not, but when I was very, very young, growing up, I did a lot of, normal things as a kid, and I remember when I did something, I did certain actions or whatever, my dad or my mother, they would say, hey, Chibi, what you're doing right now reminds me of what I used to do, and also what my parents used to tell me. I remember them telling me that all the time, they used to tell me as a kid, hey, what you're doing right now is kind of what I did, and this exact same conversation is what my parents gave me, and I didn't realize it at the time. And the way that was done, and how this kind of was brought up, it reminded me of my younger early days of my life, just seeing my parents say something like that to me. And so that feeling I got when I saw how Hina and Akari were just kind of talking with each other, and she's like, I did that too. It's like your mother's daughter. And I'm like, yo, it's so sweet and adorable. So Very good work. Very, very good work. You know, March comes in like a lion. Just for making me feel something like that. It wasn't just a nostalgic feel. It's just I literally remembered a memory of my childhood and what my parents used to say when I did certain things. And that's rare. That's really rare for an anime to make me feel that way. I mean, I could get nostalgic. I can get sad, you know, happy, whatever. But making me remember a certain piece of my childhood that isn't related to anime in general, but actually my parents, that surprised me. So, good job. Good job, March Comes In Like a Lion. So, after all that's said and done, though, we move over into the scene with our main male character's friend, Ray's friend. Now, like I said, I'll talk about the dark scene last. I want to save that for last. I want to get the happy stuff out of the way. So, the main character, he interacts with his rival, someone he beat in last week's episode that we know has, complications with his health. He has this little sparring match with him. He's playing shogi with him, and, eventually they have just this happy-go-lucky conversation with each other. You just see these two guys hanging out. They're friends, even though, our main character, he's kind of confused, or he's, detached from emotions. You can see to where he was kind of enjoying his, situation with his friend, slightly. And overall, it shows how much this character is probably going to mean to Ray in the future. When this character finally probably dies or something, I could see him dying, as I said in last week's episode. I could see him dying. All that emotion he's probably going to feel is just going to start clicking when he probably sees his character at the hospital or something. It's probably going to hit him hard because of all these matches he's been doing with him for all this long time throughout his life. And that was kind of sad but happy, though, the way they got along, and they were just, walking together, and eventually had to where he was invited over to Akari's house to eat food, which led into a very cute comedy moment, which was about Momo, the youngest of, the three sisters. Momo's overall art style, which she was acting so cute, was just adorable. It was so adorable when she just looked at our main male character's rival. It's like, Botaro! She jumped him and all that. Like, oh, that's so cute! Now, FYI, if you don't understand that reference, that was a reference to My Neighbor is Totoro. I mean, it's obvious, but some might not know that because it was a play on words. They, censored the name and changed it around because, copyright and stuff. They called it Botaro instead of Totoro. If you ever watched My Neighbor Totoro, you know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, you know what, just stop this video right now, go watch My Neighbor Totoro. That's a fantastic movie, probably one of my favorite movies, anime movies in general, so you definitely need to go see that. If you have not seen My Neighbor Totoro, stop this video, don't even come back, just go start that movie. It's fucking great. It's a really good movie. So, just seeing that type of reference to it is just so cute, to see Momo just jumping on him, like, oh, Botaro, like, oh, Momo, just her happy, cutesy face. I was just smiling. It's just, I felt so bubbly. I felt really bubbly. But now that I've talked about the happy scenes, let's talk about the depressing scene. Now, this scene I'm going to talk about is relatively depressing, and there's a lot of room to kind of think about what you think it means, like your impressions of it. And it's not really point-blank stated what happens in this one little quick flashback, but you could kind of guess what's going on. So, in the scene when, Hina, she was trying to make the food for the person she had a crush on, and eventually she couldn't give it to him, she started crying and was upset. Our main character, Ray, he was looking off in the distance at her as she was crying, and all of a sudden he had a flashback about love. We see how he's pinned up against the ground, okay, on the floor, and you see this girl on top of him, and it looks like she's forcing herself on top of him, and about to commit sex with him, have a sexual act with him. And now, this topic is a very controversial topic, because one, there's a lot of ways people view rape, but also male rape. I know there's a lot of combos about how, guys can't get raped. I've seen many argue about this throughout many discussions online and stuff like that. I've seen it constantly. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying, though, with the way the scene was implied, it looked like Ray, our main character, was getting raped, or he was about to get raped, or assaulted in some way. And you gotta remember, this is a type of character that grew up without his parents. He kind of detached himself from everything. He didn't care about anything. So this is a guy that's a husk, a shell, doesn't feel nothing. Everything's black and white to him. He's made it very obvious how his earlier days was, and how he was when he made it to this town before he met Akari. He had a very black and white life, and that image, it looked like he was getting assaulted, or he had a very dark part of his life to where he didn't know what he really wanted to do, or maybe he was trying to drown himself in, darkness, or whatever it may be. It looked like a very dark moment of his life, and it made me assume that he was probably getting assaulted by her. Now, I don't know if that's what's going on, because it's not, point blank stated, but that's the only thing I can assume is going on in that scene. So hopefully that gets clarified and we get to see a little bit more information about it, because we need to see a full-on flashback of our main male character. We need to know what really happened completely in his life with his parents, to, what type of life he lived. I would like to have a flashback episode, so hopefully before, this series ends completely, like the anime, I'd like to see a flashback. But overall, though, tell me your thoughts. How did you feel about that scene? What was your interpretation of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.